Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Let's get started. Today we are stripping away the complexity of modern politics and looking at what is basically a manual for survival. We are deep diving into On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder.
And when we say manual, we really do mean it. This is not some, 1,000-page textbook.
Oh,
It's a pocket guide. It's short. It's punchy.
yeah.
And frankly, it's a bit alarming. It's designed to be read in one sitting, but the ideas inside, they're heavy enough to change how you see the world.
The premise really grabbed me right away. We always think of the founding fathers looking to, ancient Rome or Greece to build a democracy.
Right, trying to avoid the next Caesar.
Exactly. But Snyder says, stop looking at Caesar. We have much, much fresher data.
We do, and that's his whole point.
Yeah.
Snyder's a Yale historian. His specialty is the Holocaust in Eastern Europe. He's seen firsthand how democracies crumble. His argument is that history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely instructs.
And these instructions are broken down into 20 specific lessons. So let's just walk through them. They really build on each other. Let's start with the first block, which I'd call the mindset of obedience. Lesson 1, do not obey in advance.
This is maybe the most important lesson in the whole book. It's a concept he calls anticipatory obedience.
Anticipatory obedience.
Yeah.
We think authoritarianism starts with a gun to your head. Snyder says no. It starts when citizens look at a new leader, guess what that leader might want, and then do it before they're even asked.
So, wait, you're saying the public essentially grooms the dictator?
In a way, yes. They smooth the path. The book uses the annexation of Austria in 1938. When German troops arrived, no orders had been given to the public about Jewish property.
Okay.
But Austrians immediately started, looting Jewish shops, scrubbing streets on their own. They were signaling, we're with you. They were making it easy.
It reminds me of the Milgram experiment. He brings it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The famous one from Yale, 1961. People giving what they thought were lethal shocks to strangers just because a guy in a lab coat sort of implied they should.
Right.
They weren't forced. They couldn't figure out how to say no. They went with the flow. Lesson 1 is be the person who stops the flow.
And speaking of the flow, what about the machinery of the state? Lesson 2 is defend institutions.
Courts, newspapers, unions. Snyder warns that we treat these things like they're permanent fixtures, like they'll just always be there.
But they're not.
They're not stone. They're more like an agreement. And they don't protect themselves. In 1933, German Jews trusted their institutions to keep Hitler in check. That trust was, it was a fatal mistake.
And they can be taken down piece by piece. Which brings us to lesson 3. Beware the one-party state. He talks about salami tactics.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it? Slicing off the opposition one thin layer at a time until nothing is left.
So what's the action here? He gets really poignant about voting. He compares it to making love.
He does. You don't know when you make love for the last time that you are making love for the last time. It's a haunting line.
It is.
The Germans voting in 32 had no idea it was their last meaningful election for 12 years. His point is, treat every single vote like it's the one that protects your right to ever vote again.
From the ballot box to the shop window. Lesson 4 is take responsibility for the face of the world.
Ooh.
This is about symbols.
Right, and he uses this incredible parable from Václav Havel, the Czech dissident. It's about a greengrocer who puts a communist slogan in his window right next to the onions.
And he doesn't even believe in it.
Not at all. He does it to avoid trouble, to signal, I'm obedient, leave me alone. But Snyder's argument is that when you do that, you become part of the lie. You help create a reality you don't believe in. Taking the sign down breaks the spell.
And that takes a personal code of ethics, which is lesson 5. Remember professional ethics. This seems aimed at lawyers, doctors, civil servants.
It is. Tyrannies can't run themselves. They need professionals to do the paperwork. They need lawyers to draft the decrees and doctors to sign the forms.
The example of Hans Frank, Hitler's personal lawyer, is just chilling. He argued the law existed to serve the race, not justice.
He completely inverted his professional duty. Snyder says if professionals just stick to their own existing rules, do no harm, right to a fair trial, they can jam the whole machine.
Okay, so that's the mindset. Now let's get into the physical world. Violence, standing out. Lesson 6 is be wary of paramilitaries.
This is a massive red flag. When you see men with guns who aren't the police or the army start wearing uniforms and marching around, trouble is coming.
They start as security details for politicians.
Exactly. The SA in Germany, the SS, once that line blurs between official law enforcement and a leader's private thugs, The rule of law is basically gone.
And for the official police and soldiers, there's lesson 7. Be reflective if you must be armed.
This is a really tough one. He points out that the Holocaust couldn't have happened with just the diehard SS. It needed the regular German police force to round people up, to guard the trains,
Let's just look the other way.
or to pull the trigger. And here's the thing he found. Historically, the soldiers who refused to carry out those orders, they were rarely punished. They just got reassigned.
So why did so few refuse?
Peer pressure. Simple as that. They didn't want to be the one guy who broke ranks.
Which is the perfect lead-in to the antidote. Lesson 8, stand out.
It sounds so simple, but it's one of the hardest things for a human to do. We are herd animals. But Snyder says, without that uncomfortable feeling, freedom is impossible. He points to Churchill in 1940.
When everyone else wanted to make a deal with Hitler,
It was the reasonable thing to do. Churchill just said no.
he also highlights someone I'd never heard of, Teresa Prekorowa.
Yeah, a young Polish woman. She just saw her neighbors ignoring the Warsaw Ghetto, and she decided to walk in over and over again with food and medicine for strangers. She called her own actions normal. But in a tyranny, decency becomes exceptional.
And when you stand out like that, you give other people courage to do it too.
Precisely.
To maintain that courage, we have to guard our minds. Lesson 9, be kind to our language.
This is about avoiding the phrases everyone else is using. If the state or the internet has a set of buzzwords, don't repeat them, read books, build what he calls a mental armory.
And I have to bring this up. His specific recommendation is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
I know, it seems a little odd for a Yale historian, but it makes perfect sense.
It does. Harry Potter as political theory.
Think about it. The Ministry of Magic is taken over from within, the press starts spouting lies, people are forced to register as undesirables. It's a textbook on how tyranny works and how you have to build an alternative reality to fight it.
I love that. Okay, let's pivot to that idea of reality. The next section is all about truth. Lesson 10 is huge. Believe in truth. Snyder just drops the hammer here. Post-truth is pre-fascism.
That's the bumper sticker for the whole book, really.
Yeah.
He lays out 4 ways truth dies. First is just open hostility to facts.
Presenting lies as truth,
Then there's what he calls shamanistic incantation.
which is just repeating a slogan over and over again. Lock her up.
Exactly. It's not an argument, it's a rhythm, a chant. Then you have magical thinking, like believing in contradictions. And finally, misplaced faith, when a leader says, I alone can fix it.
And if nothing is true, you can't criticize power. There's no ground to stand on.
None. Which is why lesson 11 is investigate.
Figure things out for yourself. And he gets very practical here. He says, we need to pay for journalism.
He uses a plumbing analogy. You pay a plumber for clean water. Why would you expect good information, which is much harder to produce, to be free?
If it's free, someone else is paying for it to manipulate you.
That's the point. And part of investigating is getting out into the real world. That brings us to lesson 12. Make eye contact and small talk. This sounds like, I don't know, advice from a self-help book.
It does. But he frames it as political resistance.
Because tyranny thrives on social isolation. It wants you to be suspicious of your neighbors. A simple hello, a handshake, it rebuilds that social trust that the state can't easily break.
That social fabric is key. It leads right into section 4, active citizenship. Lesson 13 is practice corporeal politics.
Get off the couch.
Basically, yeah.
Power wants your body softening in a chair, your mind raging on a screen. He talks about the Polish Solidarity movement. It was real people in real rooms making real plans. Nothing is real to an authoritarian until it's on the streets.
But while you're being public, you also have to protect what's private. Lesson 14, establish a private life.
Totalitarianism wants to erase that line. They want to know what you read, who you love. Snyder says email is like skywriting. Everyone can see it.
Yeah, that line got me. Tyrants seek the hook on which to hang you.
So use encryption. Be mindful. And lesson 15, contribute to good causes. Pick a charity. Set up autopay.
To create a civil society, right? Things that exist outside of government control.
Exactly. You're building a network of trust and support that the state can't touch. You're making a monthly choice that says, I care about more than just the government.
Lesson 16 is about looking outward. Learn from peers in other countries.
This is a direct shot at the idea that it can't happen here. He says his friends in Ukraine and Eastern Europe saw the warning signs in the 2016 U.S. election way before Americans did.
Because they had seen it before.
They'd seen the movie. We need to be humble enough to learn from them. Have a passport. Not to escape, but to learn.
And while we're learning, We need to be listening. Lesson 17. Listen for dangerous words.
You have to be so skeptical when you hear the government use words like terrorism and extremism,
Why those words specifically?
because they're used to create a permanent state of emergency. It's how leaders convince you to trade real freedom for what he calls fake safety.
Which brings us to the real danger zone. The last few lessons are about what to do when the system actually cracks. Lesson 18. Be calm when the unthinkable arrives.
This is about what he calls terror management. Authoritarians throughout history have used attacks real or staged to grab total power.
The Reichstag fire in 1933 is the classic example. The German parliament burns, Hitler blames his enemies, and civil rights are suspended temporarily.
And that temporarily lasted 12 years and a world war. Snyder's advice is, when an attack happens, and it will, do not let your fear be weaponized against your own freedom.
That takes a lot of clarity, and Lesson 19 requires that same clarity. Be a patriot. But he makes a sharp distinction between a patriot and a nationalist.
It's a crucial difference. Nationalism, he says, is about resentment and superiority. It's about saying, we are the best and it can't happen here.
It's defensive.
And resentful. Patriotism is different. It's a kind of tough love. A patriot wants their nation to live up to its highest ideals. They judge their country by universal values. A nationalist says, it can't happen here, but a patriot says, it could happen here, so let's work to stop it.
And that brings us to the final lesson, number 20. Be as courageous as you can.
If none of us is prepared to die for freedom, then all of us will die under tyranny. It's a stark, heavy way to end the lessons. It's a reminder that all the other things, the reading, talking, voting, they're all just preparation.
The book has an epilogue on history and liberty, where he warns against two mental traps, the politics of inevitability and the politics of eternity. Could we break those down?
Sure. Inevitability is basically a coma we were in after the Cold War. The idea that history was over and democracy had won and it was all on autopilot.
We got lazy.
We got very lazy, and when that bubble bursts, people swing to the opposite extreme. The politics of eternity. A kind of hypnosis. It's the belief that we are always the innocent victims, the enemy is always at the gates, and time is just a repeating cycle of threat. Snyder says both are traps. History isn't a happy escalator or a doom loop. It's just a series of moments. And we're responsible for this one.
It feels like the whole point of the book is to hand that responsibility back to us. It's not be afraid, it's be prepared and be useful.
That's it exactly. Freedom isn't some abstract idea. It's preserved by the friction of small daily actions. Talking to your neighbor, subscribing to a newspaper, refusing to repeat a slogan. That's the bedrock.
It reminds me of the Hamlet quote he ends with, "The time is out of joint. O cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right."
It feels like a burden, but Snyder frames it as our opportunity. We're the ones who are here right now.
A powerful place to leave it. And here's a thought for you to carry into your day. Snyder talks about anticipatory obedience. Take a look at your own week. Is there a moment where you self-censored or changed your behavior, not because anyone forced you to, but because you were just smoothing the way? Something to think about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoy the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.